Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So good to see you here today. And you're going to be thrilled you're here because we've got a great guest. Her name is Katie Coffman, and she wrote a book, okay, wait for it, called You Selfish Bitch. Shh. It's not just a title, it's a revolution against societal pressures, encouraging everyone to embrace healthy selfishness. Katie's transformation from self sacrifice to, well, self preservation has not only changed her life, but also empowered her to uplift those around her. And in fact, when she started out, as a book to write about her journey, now it's turned into a step by step process and accountability platform to help others do the same. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, I love this. And, I even sent you in the green room, so to speak, like, ooh, what should we do about the book title, right? And I love it because, of course, it's going to catch people's attention. Is that why you named it that?
Absolutely. I was stepping out from the background and I was finally front and center and I wasn't going to hold anything back, so including the title.
Well, I love that. And I think, a lot of people watching might feel that too, that they're in the background, that they're shy. I know a lot of people I work with in publicity say, well, I'm shy or introverted. And that doesn't mean you can't be out there, right? So I'm just like listening to you saying, like, what caused that for you? I know like 2 years ago you were different and how you are today. What made the difference?
Honestly, I had come to the realization when I went to my first coaching seminar. It was the first time I had ever actually done something just with the sole intention on doing it for myself. Most of the other decisions in my life, you come to realize like what's important to those around you quickly becomes what's most important to you when you don't keep track of it. And 2 years ago, I was like, it was as if I was in my own vehicle, but I was always sitting in the passenger seat. I always knew it was coming. I felt like I always was like there and going along with it or there for the ride. I wasn't in the driver's seat of my own life because I had let so much of what others did and what was important to them inevitably pour into what was important to me. Um, when I had that realization and started seeing how much time I devoted to other people and other people's dreams and how little I devoted to myself, it really transformed this process on starting to realize how, how did you get there? How do we let ourselves get to that point and really act pedaling out of that and taking accountability for it and then figuring out what needs to change in order to make sure that most of my time and most of my life is actually devoted to me.
Wow, I love that. That's really powerful. And I think a lot of people watching may relate to that, including me. I mean, I think all of us sometimes give away a lot of ourselves and then all of a sudden it's like, well, wait, where are you? Where am I? Right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and when I was able to do that, I think I did the math, and when I look back, and I think I only devoted about 2 hours specifically to myself every single week.
Ooh,
And 2 hours a week is only 1% of the time you're given in a week. And I joke and I tell people now that that was not the 1% club I ever intended to be a part of. But it was. And that's like, and even if you devote 8 hours to yourself a week, take into consideration that's still only 15% of the time that
wow.
you're given a week. So it really puts into perspective. I mean, you have to take into consideration we still have responsibilities. We still have uh, our our jobs. We still have sleep. All of those take up pretty decent chunks. So when you are only have a little bit of time left, you have to be extremely intentional with how you spend that time because it is gone before we know it.
Yeah. And then of course there's children and pets and our spouses and our friends, right? And so what makes being selfish so hard for people to do when it can be so good for you?
Just society as a whole. I mean, it's quite ironic for me how a lot of people, and we live in a society today that preaches like self-love and self-help in every direction. But it's funny how that works as long as I feel that it's benefiting somebody else or something else around you. The second you try loving yourself and then those benefits or those guess just benefits to other people or other things no longer exist, then you become selfish. So it's
Mm,
like you're allowed to be selfish as long as it's still benefiting other people. But the second you take the benefits away from everything around you, then shame on you. And so I just found it ironic that like, so I think it's that shame and that guilt that comes along with truly being selfish. But the irony behind that is when I started becoming truly selfish and filling up my cup first, I was able to pour into a lot more people and the people who actually deserved that as well, a lot more because my cup was overflowing. So I had a lot more to give, but I
Yeah.
gave it to the people who earned it and deserved it and who I intentionally placed in my life because they were reciprocating to me what I was giving to them.
Oh, I love that. When you said the part about that 8 hours a week is only 15%, I mean, it got me thinking, wow, because 8 hours is, a decent amount of time to give to oneself when you count in all the other responsibilities and obligations, etc. So how can we get and carve more time? Like, what's your recommendation? What should we do?
So I say throughout my process, I backtracked a lot. And I'll use this for example. You can't put new things on a schedule that's already full. So
Mm,
first you have to start with seeing what fills your schedule and what needs to stay and what needs to go. You also can't put priorities on a schedule that you don't even know. I remember writing down on a list or trying to figure out what was most important to me. And I couldn't write anything down because it had been so long since I even asked myself that question. We stop dreaming as kids because life just takes over. And then so you have to first clear your schedule because you can't add anything until you do. You then have to actually sit down with yourself and ask yourself the question, what do you want? That's a question I don't feel like a lot of us ask ourselves enough. And then the last thing is you will never prioritize you. So even if you find priorities you want to do, you will not prioritize yourself until you actually feel you're worth it. So there needs to be a lot of soul searching and self reflecting to make sure that you feel confident and worthy of actually being a priority in your own life.
mm. Wow, that is powerful. Well, you got me thinking, girl. Let me tell you. And I'm actually pretty good about carving time, but I realize sometimes, honestly, by the time we get to evening and I've given myself to my work, which I love, and to my clients, which I love, all of it, it's how much more of me is there left? It's an interesting question, right? To really ponder and finding, more, I'll call it high energy times during the day or other places. So, maybe I should take a bath during the day versus the night. And I love that though, about really, get honest about your schedule. And so Top Dog Allies, right? What you doing in there?
So Top Dog Allies is a platform that we're building. We're looking to launch it 2025. But when I went through my process and wrote this book, my book inevitably turned into my accountability partner. It's what kept me on this journey of constantly doing this like one foot in front of the other, getting through these difficult situations, taking accountability, uh, deciding who stays and who goes, reworking my schedule, getting through really big trials and triumphs, throughout that process too. So I really am happy about that book, but at the same time, uh, I wish I would have had a few more people. My husband was great. He was an amazing accountability partner and was very supportive. But I realized like this is a big problem in today's society. People don't put themselves first. But again, we've already let life happen and get in the way of doing it in the first place. And we don't think when we go through this process that it potentially won't happen again. So inevitably it's going to be a mastermind and a platform of accountability people for people to go through the step-by-step program I laid out inevitably in my book so that way we have a group of people who are all doing the same thing. We're holding each other accountable. If somebody needs to make the tough decision to cut their mom out of their life, come the next week's call, people are going to be, did you have that conversation? Because those are a lot of the tough conversations I had to go through or do, and I didn't have anybody uh, to really hold that. I had to hold myself accountable, and I had my husband, but to be able to provide that platform for other people and a group of people going through the exact same thing they are would be amazing, and that's what that's going to do.
Wow, that is exciting and super wonderful. I love what you're up to. And, these are tough conversations. They're important to have. You are a leader in this movement and excited that you're the top dog bringing it forth to give people permission to be selfish. It's a powerful conversation. And Katie, thank you for having it.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm excited. So let me just ask you, if people want to connect to you, what's the best way?
So we have so Best way right now would be social. So I have an Instagram, Lady Top Dog. I have Facebook, where I'm Katie Kaufman, but also you can find me through Lady Top Dog there as well. I currently I have a Top Dog Publishing. That's a website that people can find me on. That helped me push my book through. And as far as Top Dog Allies, again, that's to come very soon. With some updates probably between September and October, including a website for that. But then launch will be in January of 2025.
Beautiful. So Lady Top Dog is where you can all find her. Excited for that. And thank you, Katie, for being on the show. Really important and biting on some really vital topics to talk about now.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And thank you, everyone. Go check out jilllublin.com. We have a great publicity challenge coming up, and I'm super excited to see you all. Please come by, and we'll see you next show. Take care until then. Bye-bye, everyone.